It is 7 p.m. You have just finished a grueling, high-intensity workout, completely drenched in sweat. You skip family dinner, terrified of a few hundred extra calories. You genuinely believe that punishing your body and starving yourself is the only way to get a flat stomach. But look at Japan, a developed nation with the lowest obesity rate in the world, hovering right around 4%. They consume carbohydrates from white rice every single day. They rarely obsess over the gym. Yet, they maintain incredibly slim waistlines and boast some of the highest life expectancies on the planet. Why is this? Here is the hard truth. That stubborn fat pushing out your belly, known as visceral fat, is not intimidated by exhausting workouts. In fact, overtraining and the constant stress of counting calories actually causes your cortisol levels to skyrocket. This forces your body into survival mode, locking down the fat cells around your intestines and liver to protect itself. Instead of mechanically counting calories, the Japanese have mastered a sophisticated system of biological signals. This system reroutes their hormones, allowing them to burn fat even while resting. Today, we are going to dissect 4 core scientific mechanisms behind their lifestyle. From hacking leptin resistance to activating the AMPK enzyme, you will discover that the true key to eliminating visceral fat is not self-punishment. It is understanding your own biology. Let us get one thing straight right now. The soft fat you can pinch with your fingers is mostly just harmless stored energy. But the deep fat expanding your waistline from the inside out is something far more sinister. Visceral fat is not just a dormant layer of tissue. It is an active, toxic endocrine organ. It wraps tightly around your liver, your pancreas, and your intestines. From there, it aggressively pumps inflammatory chemicals, known as cytokines, directly into your bloodstream. This constant state of internal inflammation blocks your cellular receptors. It creates a dangerous condition called insulin resistance. Your body literally becomes deaf to its own metabolic signals. This brings us to a massive contradiction in the modern fitness world. If carbohydrates are the ultimate enemy, how do we explain the Japanese paradox? We know they consume white rice or noodles almost every single day. Yet, their society is largely free from the visceral fat epidemic. The secret lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of human digestion. The true enemy is not the carbohydrate itself. The real danger is the speed at which that carbohydrate enters your blood. The Japanese lifestyle naturally blunts the insulin spike. By controlling exactly how fast glucose floods the system, and by optimizing their body's natural heat production, known as thermogenesis, they keep insulin levels incredibly low and stable. And as you are about to see in our first biological signal, when insulin stays flat, the locked gates to your visceral fat cells finally burst open. Let us unlock signal number 1, the blood sugar shield and the gut-brain axis. When you sit down for a traditional Japanese meal, you will notice something very specific about how the food is served. They do not dive straight into a massive bowl of rice. They follow a precise strategic sequence. It is not just cultural etiquette. It is a biological hack. They always begin with a warm bowl of miso soup. This fermented broth is packed with beneficial bacteria known as Bacteroidetes. These bacteria actively work to produce short-chain fatty acids that signal your liver to stop storing fat. Following the soup, they eat a small portion of vegetables. This is where the magic happens. The fiber from those vegetables travels into your digestive tract and expands, creating a thick, protective gel. Think of it as a physical mesh lining your stomach. By the time the white rice is finally eaten at the end of the meal, it crashes into this fiber mesh. Instead of a massive flood of glucose rapidly entering your bloodstream, the sugars drip slowly and steadily. This completely blunts the insulin spike. In fact, Clinical research confirms that consuming your vegetables and protein before your carbohydrates can slash your post-meal blood sugar levels by up to 50%. Here is your strict, actionable protocol. From now on, you must change the order of your food. Start your meal with a warm broth or soup. Next, eat your vegetables. Then, move on to your protein, like meat or fish. Save your carbohydrates for the very end. A quick safety warning, however. If you struggle with gastritis or a sensitive stomach, do not start your meal with heavily pickled vegetables or highly acidic salads on an empty stomach. Always prime your digestive system with a soothing, warm soup first to protect your stomach lining. Now, let us move on to signal number 2, the secret of resistant starch. Even after you optimize your meal order, you still have to eat the carbohydrates. But the Japanese have a brilliant method for altering the very molecular structure of their rice. Think about a traditional Japanese bento box or a piece of sushi. The rice is rarely served steaming hot. It is almost always served cooled down or mixed with a little bit of vinegar. This is not just a culinary preference. It is a biological upgrade. When you cook white rice and then deliberately let it cool, a fascinating chemical reaction occurs. The starches tightly pack together and transform into a new compound called resistant starch. Just as the name implies, this modified structure literally resists digestion in your stomach and your small intestine. Because your body cannot easily break it down, it does not flood your bloodstream with glucose. It does not cause that dangerous insulin spike. Instead, it travels all the way down to your colon. There, it acts as a powerful prebiotic food, feeding the good bacteria we talked about earlier. You get all the satisfaction of eating a bowl of rice, but you absorb a fraction of the digestible calories. Here is exactly how you can use this hack at home. Cook your rice as you normally would, but do not eat it right away. Place it in the refrigerator overnight. The next day, you can gently reheat it before your meal. Do not worry. A light warming will not destroy the resistant starch that has already formed. I must give you a quick word of caution before you try this. While resistant starch is incredible for burning visceral fat and healing your gut, a sudden increase can cause bloating or gas. This is especially true if your digestive system is already sensitive. Start with small portions, and please, do not force yourself to eat freezing cold rice right out of the fridge. Warm it up gently. We have covered how to arrange your food and how to change its molecular structure. Now, let us talk about when to stop. This brings us to signal number 3, the leptin mechanism and the ancient rule of hara hachi bu. In Okinawa, one of Japan's famous blue zones for longevity, people often recite a simple phrase before their meals, hara hachi bu. It translates to eating until you are exactly 80% full. To the modern, fast-paced mindset, this just sounds like another form of restriction. But biologically, it is a masterclass in hormone optimization. You see, your fat cells produce a crucial hormone called leptin. Think of leptin as your body's built-in brake pedal. It travels up to your brain to tell you that you have acquired enough energy, and it is time to stop eating. But here is the critical flaw in our modern habits. That biological signal has a 20-minute delay. If you inhale your food in 5 or 10 minutes, you completely outrun your own biology. By the time your brain finally receives the leptin signal, you have already vastly overeaten. Even worse, if you constantly stretch your stomach to its absolute maximum capacity, you actually damage the sensitivity of your leptin receptors. Your brain becomes blind to the hormone. This leaves you feeling constantly starved, even as your visceral fat expands. Here is your protocol to rebuild that sensitivity. Treat your next main meal as a 20-minute event. Set a timer on your phone if you have to. Take a bite, chew thoroughly, and physically put your chopsticks or your fork down on the table. Do not pick them up again until you have completely swallowed. You need to fundamentally shift your mindset. Your goal at the dinner table is not to feel stuffed. Your goal is simply to feel no longer hungry. Listen to me carefully, though. I must give you a very clear warning. Do not confuse eating to 80% capacity with extreme starvation. If you stand up from the table and feel dizzy, shaky, or weak, you have gone way too far. That is not your body burning visceral fat. That is a dangerous crash in your blood sugar. True hara hachi. Bu leaves you feeling light, focused, and perfectly energized. We have successfully built the blood sugar shield, altered the structure of your carbohydrates, and mastered the leptin brake. Because you have followed these steps, your insulin is finally resting at a low, stable baseline. Your body is perfectly primed. This is the exact moment we strike. Welcome to signal number 4, crushing cortisol and flipping the AMPK switch. When your insulin drops, your cells are theoretically ready to release stored energy, but they still need a spark to start the fire. In Japan, that spark is Matcha green tea. It is packed with a highly potent compound called EGCG. This specific antioxidant directly activates a master enzyme in your body known as AMPK. Think of AMPK as your ultimate metabolic switch. When you flip it on, it literally commands your body to aggressively break down that stubborn visceral fat and use it for fuel. But there is a catch. You cannot burn visceral fat if you are constantly drowning in stress hormones. This brings us back to why grueling, exhausting workouts often fail. They spike your cortisol. The Japanese bypass this entirely by focusing on what science calls NEAT. That stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Instead of killing themselves in the gym, they simply walk. 7,000 steps a day, naturally woven into their daily commute and routines. It keeps the metabolism humming without triggering a cortisol panic. And when the day ends, they perform a physical ritual that completely obliterates any remaining stress. The ofuro, or the traditional warm bath. Immersing your body in warm water for 15 minutes dilates your blood vessels, flushes out tension, and forces your core body temperature to drop when you step out. Here is your daily protocol. Start your morning with one pure, unsweetened cup of matcha. Throughout your day, aim for 7,000 steps, breaking up long periods of sitting. And right before bed, take a 15-minute warm bath or shower to prepare your nervous system for rest. But listen to this warning carefully. Never consume your green tea after 3 in the afternoon. The residual caffeine will completely disrupt your deep sleep architecture. Why does that matter? Because deep sleep is the exact biological window when your body releases human growth hormone, the most powerful nighttime fat burner in existence. If you ruin your sleep, you sabotage the entire system. We have decoded the 4 biological signals. Now, it is time to put them together. Knowing the science is useless unless you have a daily system. Let me give you the exact step-by-step biological protocol to completely rewire your metabolism. At 7 a.m., you wake up. The very first thing you do is drink a large glass of water to rehydrate your internal organs. Follow this immediately with 1 warm cup of pure matcha green tea. Because you are in a fasted state from sleeping, this is the absolute most powerful time to flip that AMPK switch and command your body to burn fat. By 7:30 a.m., step outside for a gentle 15 to 20-minute walk. Do not run, just walk. This increases your non-exercise thermogenesis while keeping your stress hormones perfectly flat. As a new biological bonus, the morning sunlight directly hits your eyes. This anchors your circadian rhythm, perfectly setting your internal clock for the rest of the day. At 12 p.m., it is time for your strategic lunch. This is where you deploy the blood sugar shield. You must strictly enforce the eating order. Start with a warm broth or soup. Then eat your fiber. Then your protein. Your rice comes absolutely last. Doing this at lunch guarantees you will not suffer that exhausting afternoon energy crash. At 6:30 p.m., you sit down for a controlled dinner. This is the moment you practice hara hachibu. Eat slowly and stop exactly when you are 80% full. Make sure your meal includes fermented foods like a miso soup or vinegared vegetables to feed your gut microbiome. Keep this meal physically lighter than your lunch. You must give your digestive system time to wind down before the night. Finally, at 8 p.m., you initiate the cool-down sequence. Step into a warm bath or shower for 15 to 20 minutes to melt away the daily cortisol. You must be in bed, with the lights completely out, by 11 p.m. Getting to sleep before midnight is the ultimate biological hack. It ensures you capture the largest possible wave of human growth hormone, which will literally melt away your visceral fat while you dream. Let us bring this all together. For years, the mainstream fitness industry has sold you a very profitable lie. They told you that your expanding waistline was entirely your fault. They said you simply lacked discipline, or that you were not sweating hard enough in the gym. But now, you finally know the truth. That dangerous, hidden visceral fat is not the result of laziness. It is the direct result of shattered endocrine signals. When you stop punishing your body and start listening to it instead, everything changes. By simply rearranging the exact order of your food, respecting your leptin hormones, and aligning your daily habits with your natural circadian rhythm, you unlock a state of effortless fat loss. You finally start working with your biology, instead of constantly fighting a losing battle against it. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these Japanese biological signals are you going to implement tomorrow morning? Are you going to start eating your fiber before your carbohydrates? Or will you try brewing a warm cup of matcha to flip your metabolic switch? Tell me your exact plan in the comments below. I read every single one. If this biological breakdown completely changed the way you look at your body, hit that like button right now. And make sure you subscribe to Real Logic Science. We are here to decode the human body, one biological truth at a time. I will see you in the next video.